Joining us today on the Everyman Podcast is an extremely talented gentleman. He is a voiceover artist. He is in the Cosmic Canoe. You might recognize these lavish tones that are coming through your speakers, whether it's on YouTube or on the the old app there, as the gentleman, the powerful voice in our Everyman Podcast.tv trailer. Ladies and gentlemen, Enrique Josephs. EJ, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, gentlemen? How are you guys?
Yeah. Get him. The voice of the Everyman. The voice.
So, EJ, like I said, man, you're an artist. You're a talented artist. What do you think? Like, how do you describe yourself? Like, if somebody says, "Yo, hey," you meet him in a bar, back in the pre-uncertain circumstances era when you were in a bar, how do you describe what you do?
I think it's interesting that you introduced me as a voiceover artist. I think when I started my voiceover career, I would probably say that. But now I feel like I have kind of transformed more into a voice actor. A lot of the work that I do does require you to have to act quite a bit. And I think I kind of was like, I'm not an actor, I'm not really an actor. I'm an audio guy, that just talks. But I've come to realize that, it really is an art of acting, a form of acting. So I would say I'm a voice actor in plain terms.
Well, that makes sense. And the way I kind of to explain my thinking there when I say artist, the reason I say that is because when we first connected, basically to catch everyone up, Daryl and I were like, hey, let's get into video. Let's expand. And then it was like, hey, what would be fun and cool is if we did a little trailer. And then we're like, oh yeah. And then I did like a mock, not even a mock, just like a demo, in my studio here. And I was like, yeah, like something like this. And then Daryl's like, I know a guy used to be here at NFL Films, professional. Let me reach out to him and see. And then, you're like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then to get to the artist point, I was like, okay, I'm a weird, kind of quirky humor kind of person. There's a lot of things that I think are funny that just, they have no humor. And then to me, that's why they're funny. And as Daryl knows. And, so I heard your voice and I was like, oh man, I got all these ideas, literally bursting with ideas. Let me just come up with as much stuff as possible and see how you interpret it. And you came back with something that was creative in that you took it and interpreted it. And I guess that is kind of what acting is you're capturing words on a page and bringing it into, our reality. And so there's that creativity aspect that makes me think, well, it's an artist. You're not just a voiceover. You don't just stand there and read stuff, like the inflection and the emotion and all those things. So when we're asking you to say silly things, you kind of interpreted it in your own way. And I think that's where I came to the artiste, if you will.
No, indeed. I think you're 100% correct. It is my job to try to bring the words on the copy to life. They say that the VO guy is the voice in your head when you're thinking of whatever it is that you're thinking about creatively. And we strive to try to, please producers and creative directors. But we all try to leave our little footprint on whatever it is that we're voicing and stuff. But I think what you're saying is really spot on. We are artists, and everyone has their own methodology of how they perform their job as a voice actor too.
Yeah, everybody's got their own kind of take, and obviously there's like the gold standard, like the voice everybody imagines, like the inner world gentleman who passed away.
Yeah, Don LaFontaine, correct.
So
correct.
like
Yeah.
he's like the guy everybody imagines, but now there's all these kind of people that have come in that wake. And you could say that about somebody like Bruce Buffer, famous boxing announcer, and then his brother, his half brother, is the guy for the UFC now, or just announcing, in pro wrestling or whatever. Obviously, I'm a big pro wrestling fan, so
yep.
before we get into all that, man, one of the cool things about me and Daryl that I particularly enjoy is we're both like hyper social people, and we both have like this vast network of people.
Associates.
The vast network of associates. Yes, the Vigil network of associates, the Campbell network.
I like that. I like that network of associates. Yeah.
It's the VNOA. It's all these people that I've come across, and Daryl, and so really the Everyman Podcast is just a combination of these two vast networks of associates, and it's like anytime we were thinking about something, we know some wonderful world-class talent. So Daryl, tell our audience here in the Cosmic Canoe, how did you guys connect?
Well, you know what? I want EJ to tell it, because here's the thing. People have this, okay, you hear his voice and you say, oh, definitely a voiceover artist, definitely a voiceover, specialist, but EJ's got chops on a producer realm, and that's where he started. You go into it, EJ. You go and tell us all about it, man.
I appreciate that lead in. There was a time when I was actually working as a teacher, and I was a video production instructor at a high school for juvenile delinquents. And, I was like, this can't be where I spend the rest of my career, right? I was like, there's no way. I knew I wanted to do voiceover stuff, but I went to school for mass communications. So, I was trained in Final Cut 7. I was directing shows. I was editing. I was producing. I was writing in college. I had done a lot of shorts. And I really liked being behind the scenes. I never really liked being in front of the camera. I liked getting my hands on, behind the scenes. I liked the directing, and because I felt like that's where the action was, So I come out of school, I start teaching. We host a career day event, and NFL Films would come to our career day event. I think it was like the 26th year that they had been coming out to our school for career day. Our athletic director was cousins with NFL Films' top audio engineer. And so he would come as a favor for his cousin. And while at the career day event, I met him, and, my coworker, Rob, was saying, hey, this is EJ. He really wants to do voiceover work. Like, can you do something? And he was like, well, send me your demo. And I was like, oh, all right, great. He's like, yeah, send it to me tonight. I had no demo. So I had to run home. I'm like, putting God knows what is terrible when I look back at it. But I put something together, send it to him. And he's like, oh, this is great. Why don't you come in and record a demo? And I was completely shocked. So I got to go up to NFL Films. My mom and I went. She dropped me off. I locked my keys in the car. That happened. So I do the demo, and I was in there with the producer, him, and another engineer. A few months go by, don't hear nothing. And I kept hitting them up. I'm like, yeah, like, is anything new? Is there anything going on? Like, I want to get over there. And I think maybe 5 months had passed, and I was just like at my wit's end teaching. I really just was bummed out. I wasn't happy. I wanted to just get out. So I was like, hey, is there an internship opportunity or anything like that at NFL Films? And he's like, well, we do have an internship coming up for the spring. Why don't you apply? And I did. I got called in for the interview. And I remember before I walked into the interview, I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to go through this ever again. I don't want to interview anymore. I'm tired. I think I had submitted like 40 job applications, and I only heard back from one company, and they said no. So I was like exhausted. And I went in my interview, and when I walked out, I knew I killed it. I felt really good, right? And I wasn't even trying to be like overly confident, but I did feel pretty good. So a couple weeks goes by, and I get a phone call. And Kara called me. DC knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, just want to let you know we aren't going to offer you the internship. And immediately, dreams crushed, crying, the whole nine. Like, I'm on the phone, I'm freaking out, I'm on the job. Like, but before she hung up, she was like, well, we're not going to offer you the internship, but we were looking for some internship candidates who might be qualified enough to actually get a job as a seasonal producer. And she's like, and out of the group, we thought you were the best candidate. So we actually like to offer you a seasonal producer job. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, what do you mean you want to? I was like, so I'm not going to be an intern? They're like, nah, we want you to start like right away. And I was like, oh, okay. And I had just gotten full time at my job. at the time. The Friday before I found out. So on Monday, I started full time. On Wednesday, I got the phone call from NFL Films, and on Friday, I quit. So it was like a real quick bing, boom, boom, and I was gone.
Bam.
And that was it.
The week.
No, I just took my time. I was like, I'm out. I was like, you guys should have hired me sooner. So, and I appreciate my time there. It was very important, but I was so happy to be getting out of there. And then I got to NFL Films, and I knew a colleague of ours, Cortland, before heading into starting my first day. And when I met him, he was like, "Oh, you gotta meet this guy, DC. He's a former player." And Kara was telling me about him, and she was like, "Yeah, he's a great guy. He's really big, and he hugs people in the hallways." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, so I meet him, and DC's like, "Oh man, you got that voice. It's like, what do you say? He's like, it's like your nuts dropped twice, Yeah,
no, it says, hey, I was like,
I've never heard that before, but all right. I like
Brother
that.
Jay, I'm telling you, the first time I met him, it's like, hey, as soon as he opened his mouth, I was like, boy, your voice sounds like your nuts dropped twice.
Man. Yeah.
It was deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've clearly been blessed, my friend.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I tell you one thing, and we can move on. I want people to understand. I want our listeners to know, like, this man isn't just accomplished for his voice. That's the gift that God has given him, and he's taken that to new heights. But he is a producer, he is a voice specialist, and he is just an unbelievable human being, and that is why he is the voice of the Everyman, and he is also our friend and patriot in the Cosmic Canoe.
That's
right. I can dig it.
That's right, man. We're all on this, that shared journey we talk about all the time. And, one of the things I'm interested in too is, so how did you jump from like you're working for NFL Films and then now you're kind of working like you're like a freelance guy, right?
Yeah. So I was at NFL Films as a producer, and then I had an opportunity to start voicing at NFL Films while I was producing. The very first voiceover opportunity that I got at NFL Films was to narrate Super Bowl 50. And I feel like that's not the first job you give somebody that's never done a massive voiceover project before. It was the 50th season. It was Peyton Manning's last ride. Cam Newton was the MVP. They're giving out golden footballs to every high school in America that had somebody playing the big game. And I'm like, you guys want me to narrate Super Bowl 50. I was like, this must be a joke. I thought they were absolutely joking. And they were dead serious. I had a meeting with the head of the show, my supervisor, the EP, the president of the company. And, they were like, listen, like, we're going to give you this shot. I have no idea what propelled them to do this, but I am forever grateful because doing that project opened the door within NFL Films for me to start to get more work. But in my opinion, the real big job at NFL Films, at least, was when I took over as the voice of the Top 100 Players show. And that is its own crazy story. And once that happened, I was working on a massive highlight project, and I was narrating the Top 100 at the same time. And I thought that I was actually going to get the chance to write, edit, direct, and narrate my own piece. It didn't happen, but I was able to produce and to do VO at the same time. But that fall, I was given a choice to either come back and work as a producer or not come back and work as a producer and be able to do voiceover all year round. If I were to come back as a producer, I would not be able to do voiceover in the off season because NFL Films wanted me to start narrating showtimes inside the NFL. And obviously that starts after the first week of the season and then goes all the way up until the Super Bowl. But that means I'd miss out on highlights, the Top 100, and any other project like Hey Rookie. So I would kind of pigeonholed myself had I not decided to not come back. So I called DC, I called 3 other producers because I was really unsure about what I wanted to do. because I really knew that voiceovers was like my passion and my dream, but I really started to enjoy my time as a producer. But the general feedback from everyone I called was like, why would you stay here? You better go leave and do your own thing. And that's evidently what I decided to do. And that's when I started to do freelancing. And then back in 2018, I officially formed my LLC and turned it into an official business.
That's so cool, man. It's inspiring because, you know, like this is something that so many of our listeners can relate to. And I know I can relate to it in that sense of, you know, artistic desire and creative, you know, dreams that you feel might be stifled by just your commitment to what you've been doing. And it's easier to kind of hold tight and then half-ass one thing. But it's a true gift when you can whole-ass the thing that you love. And, you know, Daryl and I have been working towards that whole-ass dream, you know?
Yeah.
And this podcast started as something where it was like something I'd always wanted to do. And then I was waiting for the right circumstances, and then Daryl came into my life through NFL Films opportunities and getting to know him, and then we were just having these conversations. It just was like, you know what, let's do it and let's not look back. And then we're continuing that, and now we're able to connect to so many people all over the world, and it's like connects us to people like yourself, and you know, it's people, some of the people we've been getting messages from on YouTube has been awesome. But just that idea of like, you know what, I've got something, I believe in myself. I'm gonna do it. That's really inspiring, man.
Sure. And I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I mean, a part of me was really scared to step out on my own. It's like that idea of like going through school and going to college. And then once college is over, it's like, wow, there's no school anymore, you know? And I kind of had this feeling that once I left NFL Films to do my own thing, I was like, I have a feeling I'm not going to be working for anybody else, you know, and I feel like this is probably all going to be on me for the rest of my life. And I had to come to terms with that there would be no, you know, boss to report to or no deadline, I guess, which in return actually doesn't sound that bad. But, you know, but you know, I realized that it was all going to have to fall on me. And it took a little bit for me to kind of get comfortable. And fortunately, I was living at home. So my parents were gracious enough for me to stay at home rent free. So I was able to just focus on me. And I was able to just start building the foundation of my business. But the one thing that's also important that I try to tell people, no matter where you're trying to go or what you're trying to do, if you want to do things on your own, is to invest in yourself. All the money that I was making from the voiceover work at NFL Films, I was using that to take classes, purchase better equipment, go to conferences. Like I really put the money back into me. I didn't just like take it and spend it on whatever. You know, I try to tell people, if you're going to start a business, you know, those first couple of years, you got to spend on you and learn, you know, education, equipment, and all that type of stuff if you want to continue to grow, you know. So I think a lot of people are trying to figure out why they're stuck, you know, where they are, but some people aren't willing to just go that little extra mile to put a little bit of extra money into themselves. I think that that is a crucial point for anybody that's trying to start a business or chase after their passion.
That's great advice. And you know, I am a musician, you know, at my core. And then I've kind of always been like interested in broadcasting from the time I was a little kid. I loved listening to talk radio. I love yapping to people. You know, I'll call Daryl and I'll get in these long ass conversations on the phone about everything. And, you know, I was always drawn to that idea. And, you know, started out, and I had a lot of the gear because, you know, as a musician and you have bands over the years, you just start, I have so much shit. I don't even know. I've got stuff at my house here. My parents' house is still a whole room full of mostly my equipment. And, you know, my dad's stuff too, but like I have stuff everywhere. My parents are watching this right now and they're like, yeah, come get your shit. But, you know, and I'm like, well, I don't have any room for it. But anyway, my point is like, you know, I started getting into the higher end audio equipment. Once our podcast started, we're like, okay, we're really going to do this thing. We're really serious about it, you know, invest in the new microphones and stuff. And, you know, I bring this up because as a gear addict, I'm curious, what is your setup like to do this? You know, like where are you now? And kind of what did you start with?
So I started with a blue Snowball USB microphone. Like I think I made my first like $1,500 on that thing. Like I used that thing as much as I could. Like I it got its use out of it. And
that's the first mic I got for this podcast too.
Hey, it's a great starting microphone. I mean, for a USB mic, it gets the job done. It's clear enough. And I realized I was like, okay, I gotta probably invest in a little bit of a better microphone here. And then I moved on to the Blue Spark, which was my first XLR microphone. And it was great. I mean, just when you're going from the Snowball to that, I was like, this is amazing. And, you know, I made, I don't know, $3,000 off of that in like a year and a half or something. Because when I first started doing voiceover work, I wasn't making anything, like nothing, $5 a job. It was, I was like, all right, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the experience. I had to keep telling myself that at night, you know, for the experience. And then I upgraded. I kind of stayed within that like blue. I really like blue products. So I went from the blue Snowball to the Blue Spark to the blue Baby Bottle, which was like the most expensive microphone I had purchased at the time. And
like how you say at the time.
Yeah, at the time. Oh, it gets worse.
I know.
So when I was at Films, I was fortunate enough to do a microphone shootout. And they set up like 8 microphones for me to test out. And they landed on one, a Manley, which is a tube mic, which is just way too expensive. I still refuse to buy one. They're like $3,500. And great microphone, great sound. But the runner-up was the Neumann TLM 103. And I was like, man, that is nice. So that was like the first high-end mic that I bought was the TLM 103. And that thing, I mean, I was doing commercial work, narration work, television promo work. I recorded my trailer demo on that thing. I mean, I put that thing to use. But as I started doing bigger jobs and doing more television promos, my colleagues in the voiceover game who were also doing promos and trailers and stuff, they were like, man, you got to get that Sennheiser 416, man. Like that's the mic. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I was like, I'm a video guy. That's a shotgun microphone. They're like, yeah, bro, that's why you got to get one. They're like, and they were like, yeah, they use it on the sets in Hollywood and they want you to use it in voiceover. And I'm like, so you're telling me I'm going to use a shotgun mic to do voiceover work? Yeah, man. I was like, all right, whatever. So when I went to LA one time, I was at a studio trying to do some stuff for NFL Films. What did the studio have? The Sennheiser 416. So I'm asking them about it. And they were like, oh, yeah, this is the greatest mic in the world. Yada, yada, yada. And as you can see, this is it right here. Yep. And I've got 2. So I've got 2 of these bad boys. And I keep one in my to-go bag and I keep one in my studio because as a voice actor that does promos and trailers, I have to be on the move. Well, I don't have to be on the move, but when I'm on the move, I have to have my stuff with me. And DC has seen me inside NFL Films with my gear. I've had to pull over on the side of the road. And when I'm in the car, I got to make sure that my quality is just as good. So I use a universal audio preamp at home, but I also use their smaller version to work on the road. It's USB-C powered. So I'm getting the same plugins, the same quality, the same type of preamp, because I don't want any of my clients to have any idea of whether I'm in my studio or in my car or wherever. So until
they see this podcast.
Until they see this podcast.
They still won't know unless I tell them no, because it's not like they see me. But the one time, I was in Los Angeles. I was on my way home and I was flying back. I switched my flight because the wildfires were getting really bad. And as a matter of fact, a couple hours after I took off, LAX was shut down. So I was trying to get back home. And I, as a promo and trailer voice actor, am not allowed to fly during the day. I cannot fly during business hours during the day because if I'm needed, I can lose a job just because I'm unavailable. So I usually fly red eye or on weekends. But my producer was like, hey, we got nominated for some Emmys. We need you to turn some stuff around like right now. I was like, well, I'm at LAX. they're like, well, you need to make it work. I was like, okay. So I went and found a baby changing station, and I pulled out that baby changing table. I set up all my stuff, and I did those deliverables. They were like, this sounds great. And I'm just like, all right. And I got on the plane. And then when I landed, there was more spots for me. So everything I did at LAX was for naught anyways. But yeah, I think it's really important to have something like this for traveling, because when you have a Sennheiser that's a shotgun mic, it doesn't pick up all of the room tone. It's a directional mic, so it's only picking up really what it's aiming at. So it's perfect for being in hotels or louder environments. Whereas a condenser mic, which kind of picks up all of its surroundings, but they each have their unique purposes.
Yeah, I can only use the condenser. I prefer to use this, but I can only use it when Daryl and I are remote, because if Daryl's in the room, it bleeds and it gets all funky. Yeah. And so I have usually we use Beta 58s when we're in the room together, because that's a classic. But you talk about portability, and I'm a fan of the Zoom products for years. My parents got me this little Zoom H2 for Christmas in like 2004 that has the stereo condensers on it, and you can plug 2 mics in. And like years later, my band Extractus at the time, we recorded like all our practice demos with this thing, and like it helped us write our album. And nowadays there's stuff that just plugs into an iPad or an iPhone, and you can plug a microphone straight in, and you're recording like that. It's really incredible. Like, I thought I was in like the prime of, being in high school with GarageBand and Logic and all this stuff, and Pro Tools, like, 6 or whatever at the time. Now it's like the access that you have at an early age, especially because everything runs on an iPad. You can get an iPad for like $200 to start now. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's only going to get even better. We're gonna see some incredible technological advances for working remotely. I mean, we're already starting to see it because of the pandemic. I mean, everybody is experiencing some type of remote work for their job or for their business. And for somebody like me who has done remote work before, the best thing for me is knowing that, if I'm out and about, or if I'm traveling, I can feel a lot more comfortable knowing that internet accessibility and internet durability is only going to get better with time as 5G is making its way out, because I'm already doing live sessions over Wi-Fi that sound fantastic. And if the connection's getting stronger and more accessible, it's only going to allow us to be able to do more and travel, because a lot of voiceover talent feel like they have to be at home all the time to get the quality. I took a huge leap of faith. I was like, listen, I'm 25 years old. I was like, I'm not going to be at home all day like an old man, even though that's what I'm doing now anyways. But, but when I started, I was like, I got to be able to go out. One of the first jobs that I had required me to record every single day. I had to record every day for the show because I was doing topicals for a talk show. And the way that it worked is that my producer would just text me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and all he would say is before 8 or after 8. I'm like, okay. So either we were going to read before 8 or read after 8. No idea what time it was going to be at. I just had 10 minutes to be ready whenever he would text me. So I would have my mobile my wife and I would go out to eat, and I would sit down at the restaurant, and then I'd get the phone call, and I'm like, here we go. I got to go to the car. And I would deliver the reads in the car and then come back. But it allowed me to be more flexible, and it allowed me to still be able to go out and live and not feel like I have to be at home all day. Because I feel like it's like they call it the golden handcuffs. My agent first told me that, and he's like, oh, yeah, you got the golden handcuffs. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? And he's like, well, yeah, the handcuffs are golden, but they're still handcuffs. You're strapped to your home studio. And I was like, there's got to be a way that I can switch things up. And I just started testing my own road kit. And DC used to see me carrying this huge suitcase around. It was padded. I had it looked like I felt like a super secret agent, walking around. Yeah, I looked like a hitman, like everything padded in place. I had the foam and everything had its right place. And, they probably looked at me walking in like, this dude's gonna, act of terrorism. You know what I mean? So, but nah, it was a real learning process. But I have streamlined the to-go kit, and it's right where I need it to be now.
EJ's like a superhero, dude. Like the crazy, the joy for me is like he shows up in NFL films. I see my boy. We hug up, we dap up. We're talking for like 5-10 minutes, getting great conversation. And next thing you know, he's like, "Big bro, man, this thing just came through. Can I use your office for like?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Bounce out of there, and he whips out the portable kit and just like gets busy, man. That's freaking superhero style, man.
And that happened quite a bit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So, we talked about obviously Super Bowl 50 and your involvement there was like a real highlight for you. Not trying to make you brag here, but what are some of the projects that you've been involved with that maybe you're, really like particularly proud of that our listeners might be interested to know that you're the man behind that?
Sure. I'm really proud of Freeform. I'm one of the voices of Freeform, which is also formerly known as ABC Family. And I'm the voice of Halloween. I do all the 31 Nights of Halloween promos. So you may or may not have heard me do that. I didn't realize how big 31 Nights of Halloween was before Free. Not that I didn't, but I was always a 25 Days of Christmas kind of guy. So of course I wouldn't know that. But
people would be surprised at how many, like, I bet ABC Family is like one of the few channels that still has people watching it.
Oh, I mean, it's huge. I mean, because last year they ran. In September, they did 30 Days of Disney. In October, they did 31 Nights of Halloween. In November, they did Kickoff to Christmas. And then in December, they did 25 Days of Christmas. And I'm like, so you're telling me all these people watch all this stuff? And they're like, yeah, they love it. And they're like telling me, they're like, they eat this stuff up. And I'm like, this is crazy. So
all those movies with Dean Cain, like the
oh my
Christmas
gosh,
he's like in every friggin' Christmas movie, that guy.
It's amazing though. Like I love Christmas. So for me, when I got to do a 25 Days of Christmas I cried a little on the inside.
No, my fiance and I, we're big. We've got all our Christmas movies. They start the weekend of Thanksgiving with Christmas Vacation, and we've got our Christmas movies for sure. Yeah.
Oh man. It's something about that time of the year, but
yeah, it's my favorite time of the year.
But Freeform is I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of what happened at NFL Films. And I think it's not necessarily a project. I think it was more like the situation, because NFL Films went from being my employer to being my client. And to me, that was like, that's like, cool. Yeah, it's almost like an indescribable feeling to be, because of what the
tables have
is.
Turned.
Yeah, how the tables have turned. I am so much more in control of my own destiny, so to speak, and the conversations that I'm able to have with them, and the relationship that I have with NFL Films. It's like going to my second home. When I feel at home when I go to NFL Films. And I'm very appreciative of everybody at NFL Films. But another project that I'm really proud of was after, the killing of George Floyd over Memorial Day. I was voicing all of the CBS News spots, kind of rallying the country to kind of come together to sit down and try to have an understanding about what's taking place. And CBS News kind of leaned on me to kind of help bring people together, and I was honored to do that. And they felt like this is a time where we need to be progressive, and we need to be inclusive, and we need to make sure that people understand that we want to be on the right side of history. And having the conversations with the producers during that time was really eye-opening, not just for them, but for me as well, because I think that's how we kind of do get through these adverse times. We have to have these really uncomfortable conversations. So it warmed my heart to see them kind of open up in that way and lean on me to kind of relay that message to the American people, which was awesome.
That's cool, man. That is really cool. Is there anything that you're working on now, or that you kind of got your eyes set on in the future that you're excited about? Anything going on?
Well, at the moment, I can't say about a couple of things. I had told DC prior to the taping of this that there was a project that I was going to be able to let you guys know about because I had actually completed the project. But it ended up being a crazy change of plans. So I feel like now it's an interesting time to talk about it. Okay, so I was booked to become the voice of the MTV Video Music Awards that just happened on Sunday. So I was, live announcing the show, all of the performances, all of the nominees, the categories, all of the sponsors. Like, I was the voice of the show. So my parents came over and my family was excited. And, we start watching the MTV VMAs, and they completely took me out of the show and didn't tell me. And I was like, what is going on? This is the first time this has ever happened. So I'm calling my agent, and she didn't know what was going on. They never told her. And it was a really strange move for MTV. Like, when my agents talked amongst themselves about it, they were like, that's highly unusual for them to have made the change without saying anything. Now, I understand why they did it. They just wanted to go in a different creative direction. They switched me out with a girl, and they wanted a girl originally. And then they're like, well, let's do a guy. So they chose me. And then I guess after I sent in my recording, they wanted to go back to a woman. I wasn't even mad at the change because she sounded great. Like, it wasn't like, I wasn't even hating. She sounded really good. It just would have been nice if they gave us a heads up. Fortunately for me, good thing I didn't share it with anybody because I would have looked like a fool, but it was just the weirdest situation. And my agents were apologizing to me. And I'm like, look, guys, like this is not on you guys. They didn't share it. And I was just kind of shocked. But that's the first time that's happened in my career. I guess it's got to happen at some point. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was the project I was going to share with you guys. I was like, man, wow. I don't know what to tell DC now.
I'll tell you what, man. I don't know if you can tell that the guy in the Dragon T-shirt with all the wrestling shit on the wall doesn't watch a whole lot of MTV. But I'd seen the ads on Twitch. Because I was watching some stuff on Twitch, as I am often doing. Shout out to the goat girl, Mary is Milk Monster. I watch this girl. She milks goats and makes goat soap and does construction work. She's just like a farmer. It's sick. I don't know, man. You should check it out.
All right.
But I had seen a commercial for that, and I was wondering. I was like, it's back. It's this time of year again, I guess. And I didn't even know it was still going on. And so you know what, MTV, your loss.
Yeah, and
my words, not EJ.
Yeah, and you know what? I look at it as at the end of the day, I still got paid, so I'm not really.
I was gonna say, I hope you still got paid.
Yeah, I still got paid, but I just was like, hey, at the end of the day, I did still technically book the job. To book a job, when you kind of get to this level, you realize you're going up against a lot of people and a lot of people who are extremely talented. So that's why, a lot of the times I really celebrate what I work on because it really was like one out of, a couple thousand sometimes or a few hundred. It's a large pool of people that I compete against on a daily basis. I guess another project I can kind of speak about is that I'm working on some Ben 10 promos for their upcoming movie trailer for Ben 10 versus the Universe, the movie on Cartoon Network. So I was really proud to get on Cartoon Network this year. That's been a goal of mine since I set out on this VO journey. So that's something that I've been working on, and they're awesome to work with. Yeah, looking back at that MTV thing, it's just more reason for me to just even push even harder, honestly.
Yeah, make them wish they had you win.
Yeah, and hey, if they want to call me back, I'll still work. I'm not no hard feelings. It's a business. So if you guys want to come back and pay me, that is totally fine with me.
Yeah, just send an email next time.
Yeah, a little heads up would have been nice.
Well, I'll tell you, man, that's really cool. I keep saying that because it sounds like I'm being an idiot here, but I'm just so fascinated by that whole. Like I said, it's something that's involved in everything that we do, whether you're on hold with customer service and so-and-so delivers excellent communication and this, and you're like, do you really? And it's like just enough to keep you from going insane, on the person that finally answers the call. But really, it's been really cool hearing you talk about the business side of it, and kind of how it all plays out. And it's just, it's an extension of that entertainment world that Daryl and I relate to so much with, is that it's like, from the outside, people think it's like this whole glitzy thing. And it's like, nope, it's a shit piled fist fight, just like every other line of work. And it just so happens that, like, you know, part of it, like you said, like, there's the thing going on behind the scenes, and then there's what's in front of the camera, and you just don't see the whole beast.
Indeed. I mean, voiceover work, especially once you're like a pro voice actor, a lot of it is really an extension of Hollywood. I mean, we work with a lot of creative marketing agencies, movie trailer houses, a lot of boutique agencies. And the same rules apply as far as how to try to break in, as far as networking, going to the social events, meeting the EPs, the creative directors, the producers, the writers. So a lot of it is really the same. It's just, instead of going to audition on camera, all of the auditioning is done off camera and wherever it is that you reside. So, but the idea is, you know, I'm very much like in the Hollywood scene because I have to be. You know, a lot of my clients are on the West Coast, and before, you know, COVID, I would fly out to Los Angeles, meet up with my buyers, have lunch, and all those types of things, because I know that the important part about business is, you know, relationships and
networking,
and exactly, and managing those relationships. And I've been blessed to be able to meet some incredible people who, not only do I enjoy working with them, but they've enjoyed working with me, and it's created a mutually beneficial relationship. And that's something that I'm also really proud about. I really enjoy being around my clients and spending time with them. But it very much is I need to go out and show face and make sure that, you know, they see who I am and they know what I look like in person, and not just some voice on the other side of the call. You know, I find that sometimes that FaceTime can make all the difference in the world, you know, and it's important to get in front of those people, especially when they're the ones making a lot of the decisions on who to hire and who not to hire. You know, so it's good for them to see me and to know me and to kind of, I guess, feel my presence. Not that, you know, I'm trying to, like, you know, evoke some extraterrestrial presence on them, but just so that they understand who I am, and that I'm not just this deep, luscious voice on the other end of the phone.
Nope, that's right.
Luscious.
There's more to it. There's more to it. You actually are, you know, I'll tell you, man, that's, you know, I learned early on, and if there's anything that I learned quick, it was like, well, I got to be where it is, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And early on, it was going out to NAMM in Anaheim every year and being there and meeting people and starting those relationships and building it over the next year, and then going, you know, and that's everything that this podcast has become, is because me and Daryl we're like I said, just two tenacious little networkers. Well, a little networker and a large networker, you know, physically, and, you know, getting after it. And that you said that FaceTime is so important, that people, you know, and it's, we've all adapted, I think, to this kind of Zoom thing, you know, or Skype or whatever. And, you know, speaking of Skype, we've been using Skype for the longest time, and I'll tell you, I'm done with it. Skype, you suck. I will say that. We are now a Zoom show. Okay. Zoom Pro. So if anybody's like, how do I do Zoom Pro? And like you said, with remote stuff, eventually they're going to make a version of Zoom that's so tight that, like, people like us could do this latency free, you know, if you're plugged in and it's perfect, you know, perfect audio. We're getting there.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, just that, like I said, that social nature of business, and that's so important. And I just encourage our listeners, you know, to if you think, like, you know, if anything you take away from this podcast, other than these luxurious tones you're hearing, it's that, you know, take a chance on yourself, invest in yourself, and put yourself out there just a little bit, even if it's just like a toe in the water. It's a good place to start.
Yeah, and I think that what you said is really spot on. I remember there was a point in time where I used to be, like, afraid of potentially becoming who I was meant to become. Not that I thought I was going to be some, like, super rock star, you know, plastered on billboards or anything like that. But I think that I knew from a younger age that I had talent. You know, I knew I had a gift, and I knew that if I applied work ethic to it, that I could make something of myself. And I think that I used to be afraid of that, of what comes with that, or, what it is. And then I remember I just stopped caring. I just like, whatever, like, if I'm going to, like, I might as well just go after it anyways and see what happens. And that was the greatest decision of my life, to take risks, but make sure that those risks are calculated. It's one thing to take a risk, and it's important to take risks on yourself, but take calculated risks. Make sure that the risk makes sense. And if you're going to take the risk, make sure you got a backup plan, and make sure you have other plans, but go for it, but also be strategic and be smart about it. And honestly, a lot of the things that have happened to me, honestly, was God's intervention, right time, right place, being prepared. That I want to make sure that I say that as well. A mentor of mine that I met in college, who was a CBS sports director, he does AFC football games and stuff. He told me that, it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of education. He's like, but it's also going to take some luck. You're also going to need a little bit of luck on your side. And I believe that the luck is really the whole preparation meeting the opportunity. That's luck.
Yeah.
Right. It's just being ready to go in that moment. If I was not ready to go for when I took over for the top 100, I might not have gotten the job. If I wasn't ready to step in and do Super Bowl 50, I might not have gotten that job. If I wasn't ready to do showtimes inside the NFL, I might not have gotten the job. Even when I started doing 31 Nights of Halloween, I had just finished working on Halloween scripts with my coach like 2 weeks before. So I was already ready to audition for something that was Halloween related. And had I not taken the steps to find a really good coach, I might not have been ready for that as well. So I always look at it as it's preparation. It's being ready. It's getting ready to be ready and stay ready. You don't have to get ready in the moment. And usually things will work out. And a lot of the times it is a matter of time. And it's like that matter, not of if, but of when. So, and you got to put those two things together.
I couldn't agree more. And, it is that opportunity meeting preparation. And there's that chance of bumping into somebody, like me and Daryl, the way that came together, or you and Daryl, being there, right place, right time in the universe. But I think there's something else that's that kind of intangible thing is like, you've got to be putting positive, good energy out for there to be, this wave that comes back to you to lift your tide, like to kind of rise the tides and lift your boat up, so to speak. Because I don't know, but I don't think if you have a negative attitude towards what you're doing, or you have just a negative view on your cynical type perspective, I don't know how well that works out for people when they're trying to achieve these kind of things, because everybody that we have on this podcast, whether it's, we've got a guy next week coming on, Dylan Dickstein, who he's like 25. By the time we have the podcast, I think he's going to have his PhD. He's a pilot. He's a scuba diver. He's a fucking EMT. He wants to be the first person to go to Mars. He works for SpaceX. Like, this guy, like, it's insane what this guy's doing. And like, one, I can't believe he, wants to come talk to us again. But my point is, like, there's no limit. There is no limit for you, EJ, for Daryl, for me, for Dylan Dickstein, for anybody. The limit is, what are you willing to put out? What are you willing to take on responsibility-wise? And can you put it all together? And if you start with that, am I willing, and you work outward, then yeah, everyone's capable, because everybody wants those things. And like I said, to hear it, from you in this way, I mean, it really nails home that whole thing that this Everyman podcast is about.
Yeah, I mean, having the mindset of just being open, being willing to learn, make mistakes, look at the glass half full versus half empty as much as possible. In the line of work that I do, the majority of what we do is lose. And when you have that type of perspective, right? Because I do auditions, I audition all day. I mean, I have to keep reading, and that just because I do 10 auditions a week, that doesn't mean I'm going to book all 10. It doesn't mean I'm going to book one. In voiceovers,
Yep.
If you can book 4%, that is successful. 4. Like, think about that. Only 4% of the work that you actually book is considered successful out of all the work that we do. I mean, that's 96% of jobs that you don't get chosen on. So it already has to be embedded in you that you're going to lose more than you're going to win. But when you win, it's that much sweeter, because it means that they chose you off of your skill, off of your ability, off of your your workability, your turnaround, and then all the important business aspects about building a relationships that comes in once you book the job. But your audition is the job, so to speak. That's what wins you the job. So going back to the whole preparation thing, I gotta read every day and hopefully put out my best foot forward every single time I step into the booth just to audition, So you read to continue to not only get better, but to book work. But when you realize that it's a losing game, it really is a losing game. And when that was like put in perspective, I was like, man, this kind of sucks, but it's so much sweeter when you book a job. And it's just having that mindset, about it's being willing to lose to win. And that's really what it's a humbleness in a way. And voiceovers does make you very humble. And a lot of my colleagues are some of the most humble people I've ever met. Nobody is like super egotistical. Everybody willing to help everybody willing to teach somebody something. I just got done a workshop on Saturday to do television promos. It was a 5-hour workshop intensive. And I'm working with dudes that have been in the game for 20 years, the guy that's got Emmys for being the narrator for Jane the Virgin, dudes that is the voice of National Geographic, guys that are heavy hitters. And they're telling me, man, like you're going to be great in this business, but they're giving me tips about how to do this, how to handle agents. And I'm just sitting there soaking it in because these guys have done it. But also I look at it that they're willing to even share that information. Everybody kind of has that helping hand mentality. And that's what I love about my industry. It's fun, it's challenging, and it's extremely friendly. It really is.
Again, man, so much to relate to in what you're saying. And it's, at this point in my life, I've been told no, an unbelievable amount of times. And it only has taken a few yeses to really move what I've been able to accomplish along the line. And a lot of that, has been, teaming up, finding the right people to team up with, with myself and Daryl, or yourself and your agents and things like that. It's powerful, man. It's powerful stuff. And I'll tell you what, as we're getting ready to gear down here, it's been an awesome podcast, man. We're gonna have to have you back on.
Oh yeah.
Just because there's you too much to put into one episode, man. You're an awesome dude and talented guy. Obviously, I don't have to say that to you, but so I want to, obviously, like I said before, I got kind of a weird sense of humor, and I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
Okay.
And so, is there any voice acting that you've done where you've particularly enjoyed what you did, that you find yourself in your casual time going back to, like you did a commercial for something and it caught your ear and it stuck there?
It's funny. I don't know if it's just me, but I have this like innate ability to think about a project that I work on or have worked on and can recall exactly how I recorded it on the spot. So if it was for DAZN, which is a streaming channel where they do boxing and MMA, I can see the spot in my head. I can hear the sound, like all the sound bites and stuff.
Yeah, you did the Canelo fight.
Yeah, I did the Canelo fight. Canelo versus Jacobs and Canelo versus Kovalev. And I can actually hear myself doing it in my head. And then I can kind of just Canelo versus Kovalev, you know, and just kind of get right back into it if I need to. Sometimes I refer to spots that I did previously to help me on a new spot. So for instance, I used to be the voice of the Harry Connick Jr. daytime talk show. And I used to have to speak in like the highest register possible that I could do, you know, and it'd be
that dude's got such a good voice. I would think he would be his own voice. You're a voice for a man who's got a great voice.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. And I was honored to be handpicked by Harry out of a pool to be the voice of his show. He really liked my voice, and he was like, I want this guy to be the voice of the show. And I had to go through like rounds of directed auditions. There was how do I put it? There was too many cooks in the kitchen for that one. There was it had to go through 50 different people to get approved. Yeah, it was rigged. Oh yeah.
If you've gone past 3 approvals, none of you have power, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it takes 50 people to sign off on something,
50,
none of you have power.
Yeah, 50 people. So I was like, man, this is crazy. But all the stuff that I would do, you know, for him was like super upbeat and super, super high energy, and it was fun. But if I need to recall, like if someone's asking me, hey, we want to, you know, kind of tap into your higher register, and I'll kind of just go, you know, Thursday, new Harry, and kind of just get like right back to it, you know, and you can see like the whole mood switched, you know, on the voice. So, but what was your question again? I feel like I got off topic a little
bit. Like there's little things that stick in my memory. For example, like Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652, only you can help take a bite out of crime. I've got that penned into my brain since I was in kindergarten for some fucking reason. I don't know why. And like, I just because of the way I learned, like I was always, my problem as a musician was I realized way early on, like when I was like 6, that I could learn by just listening and then mimic back. I'm like a mimic. So like I can hear somebody's voice or somebody's affectation and kind of just mimic it. I don't necessarily like, you know, so that kind of, at first that helped me learn music to just play along to. And then eventually I got to a point where in order to like really grow and proceed, I needed to actually learn. But like it would be a problem in like, I remember being called out in band class because like I was just listening and not reading the charts, you know? And I think there's like people that kind of have that skill. So when you're saying like you can refer back to, you know, tonalities and things, I think that's definitely a special type of learning mechanism, because I have that too. And it's like helped me in some things, but like I relied on it too much for others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I know that at least for me, kind of coming into pro voice acting, I kind of had to be brought up to speed, right? If I wanted to compete against like all these incredible other voice actors that I compete against. And the one thing that really helped me like get along really quickly was my background in production, understanding how spots are created, right? The writing, you know, the production process, framing, the whole nine. It really accelerated my education in voiceovers. The first coach that I worked with before I got signed by my agents, he basically, he was an incredible coach, but he knew how to get the best out of me very quickly. And basically what he taught me was how to read copy, not how to read. And I didn't realize that was an entirely different art form. There is a formula on how to read different types of genres of voiceovers. You know, you're not going to read promo the way you read commercial. You're not going to read trailers the same way you do radio. You know, IVR, which you talked about earlier, which is, you know, the automated phone messages that you hear. You're not going to read that the same way you do, you know, a Nat Geo documentary. You know, so you have to actually learn how to switch up for each type of genre. And he's like giving this to me at the fastest pace. Like it was like a 7-class ridiculous intensive, because he explained to me that I was in high school football, right? Where I was when I started with him. And he's like, and basically you're going straight to the NFL. I was like, okay, like how do we get from here to there? And then he was like, well, not only do I have to get you from high school to the NFL and skip college, we have to get you to the NFL, and then you have to compete and be as good as the guys like Tom Brady and the Peyton Mannings and the Alvin Kamaras. He's like, you have to then go against those guys every day. And I was just like, dang, like when you put it like that, like, yeah, I need to get to work, you know? So it like getting the understanding like that really kind of just helped accelerate me and help me get to this point. But yeah, man, it really comes down to, like we were saying earlier, it's just like being open. Like if you're going to go after your dreams and your passions, like do not be afraid to take advice or direction, or, you know, don't be afraid to take the time out to just go listen to hear what somebody else has to say that's been doing what you've been doing for a long time. Like they got something right if they're successful at it. So, you know, listen, you don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out myself. And while you are trying to figure it out, bust your butt, you know? So it really it comes down to just being open, you know, be open-minded and go hard, you know?
I'll tell you, I think that's a great place to end it, man. Great words there. But since this is a special, every episode of the Everyman Podcast is special. Let's just throw that out there, because I've been saying that a lot lately. I've just been so enthused about the guests we've had on lately. So, but this is extra special because you've been involved intimately in our creative output. Normally, I sign us off on the show. I think since you're here, the voice of the Everyman, maybe you could sign us off this week.
Sure.
You're listening to the Everyman Podcast with Daryl Campbell, Justin Vigil, and Enrique Josephs.